Okay, hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Boardmasters with me, Chris Mullins.
And me, Chris Reed.
And today we'll be following on from our gameplay video of Streets with our review. As always, it will be the 5 standard categories, so it will be the art style and theme, component quality, accessibility, replayability, and gameplay. So do you want to dive in on the art style and theme, Chris?
Yeah, so for me, I love the theme of this game. Is for me, obviously, as it's meant to be the follow-on from Villagers, which is we both ranked very highly. We both gave it a 10 each.
Yeah.
So a lot of anticipation was sort of put on this game, and I feel on the whole it delivered.
Yeah, it did live up to it, I would say.
So the theme of the game is sort of, whereas Villagers are sort of like collecting the relevant trades.
Yeah, it's very solitaire as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're doing your own village.
This is more of bears more similarities to another great game I've played, Carcassonne. I think this is sort of like a more condensed version of that game. So the theme for me really fits in well with what it's trying to project.
Matches the mechanics nicely.
Yeah. So the theme of building, making these streets and placing these meeples on the streets to score really appeals to me. I love the art style. I love how every building is different and very noticeably different.
Yeah, the art style on these cards. I mean, who doesn't love a cute little kitty and everything?
Yeah.
And these screen printed giant meeples. Obviously, they're only in the Kickstarter edition, but yeah, the art style is wonderful. Again, it's similar to games like Ticket to Ride, I guess, where the theme on paper is completely uninteresting. You're just putting streets together, but the way it complements the mechanics, the way it looks on the table, the art style and everything really brings it together and complements everything.
Yeah, I mean, I remember saying to Chris last week that how this game reminded me of a bit like Lego City as well, where you're sort of like playing like a 2D format, where you're like placing your buildings to give you the possible highest score. But yeah, just every building's different. The colours are really, really bright and vibrant.
Yeah, I think they've probably even surpassed the art style in Villagers a bit, because I love the art style in Villagers, the minimalist style of it, but this has that minimalist style, but also to a lesser degree, it's not quite as minimalist. There's more space on the tiles taken up, which just makes the artwork really, really pop, I think, for me.
Yeah, and I love the artwork on the box as well. The inside of the box, particularly.
Yeah, I love the fact that Sinister Fish seem to do that on their games, because they did that with Villagers as well. It's really, really attractive to look at.
Yeah, and this game sits well on the shelf next to Villagers. It's the same size box.
Same box style as well.
So yeah, it's a win-win for the art style and the theme for me.
Definitely. Going into components, and obviously, as I've mentioned already, this is the deluxe Kickstarter edition, so it's going to be slightly different to the retail version, because the retail doesn't have the giant meeples as far as I'm aware, and the meeples aren't screen printed. But other than that, I think it's basically the same in terms of, obviously, the tiles. I've got more tiles because I've got the promo pack, but the majority of the tiles are the same and the artwork's the same, and I believe that the money tokens are the same and things like that. But what are your thoughts on the components?
Yeah, I think the components, for what the game is, I think the components are very good quality. These tiles are very thick and durable. Very, like Chris has said before, the print work is excellent on them. Obviously, you've got the advantage of it being the deluxe version, having the wooden meeples, and the fact they're printed as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're wooden, I think, in the retail, but they just don't have the cute little artwork on them that these ones do, which is a big win for it.
Yeah.
I love the artwork on the giant meeples. But again, for the price point, as you've already said, it's never going to be outstanding quality miniatures, but they're very good quality tiles, good quality meeples. All the money tokens and everything have a decent heft. They feel nice in the hand. They don't feel, they're not flimsy in any way.
Yeah.
So again, for the game, they work very, very, very well.
Yeah, I think so. I love the wood. I love wood anyway, but the effect, just to hold the wood, the money is very easy to handle. You can clearly define which is which. Which is the 100, which is the one. Vary in size. So yeah, the component quality for the price point, I think, is fantastic. Really.
Yeah, and it's all nicely labelled. Like the money has the denomination on it. The tokens obviously have the icon as well as all the tiles. So people who are colourblind will still be able to easily play this going off the symbols, as opposed to necessarily we probably go off the colours more naturally. But because each colour is embodied by a different symbol, it's not going to be a problem for people with colourblind issues, which is a big plus. But yeah, I think the components again are a win. I think Sinister Fish Games do very, very good components.
Yeah.
I
agree.
In the
Definitely.
same, yeah.
Also, should point out the money bag as well, the swag.
Oh, you got to have the swag bag.
Clearly defined with the dollar symbol, but yeah, again, nice touch.
Yeah, nice sense of humour. No prizes for guessing what gets stored in there. But on to accessibility. Obviously, we've covered a few bits already in terms of it's a fairly low price point. But yeah, obviously, this is a game we've learned over the past week or so. How do you feel the learning journey of the game was?
Yeah, I think after the first couple of games, I started to get the grasp of the game and what it was all about. It's definitely one of those games which the more you play, the more you get used to the dynamics of the game, and you foresee how to place your cards most effectively to get you the higher scores.
Yeah, you start to see how to combo things a bit more, don't you? But...
Yeah. So yeah, I think for that reason, it's great.
Yeah, it is quick and easy to learn. There are a couple of videos on YouTube. Paul Gregan, I can't remember the name of his channel, so apologies for that, but he has one 8-9 minute video for the core game and then another one for the solo and the base game, and I watched both of them. Very quick and easy, and they just made it so easy to learn the game. It was literally just one playthrough to consolidate what you learned from those videos.
Yeah, so it's easy to pick up, to learn. Also, I think it's a fairly easy game to obtain. I had a look online, places like Zatu Games. You're going to find this. The price point I believe was about £40, roughly.
I think it's probably cheaper than that. I haven't looked personally, but I would be surprised if it's that. It may be 40 for the deluxe edition, perhaps. But
yeah, price point good for, I believe, what you're getting and the amounts of gameplay you're going to get off this game.
I would agree with that.
And as I already mentioned, it's very easy to get hold of.
Yeah, it's quick to get to the table, set up and tear down is quick as well. I suppose it takes a little bit of time just to arrange the meeples in their boxes, but other than that, obviously, again, for me, shuffling a big pile of tiles is always going to end messily, but it's not too bad. And yeah, so I think again, it's a good win. It's easy to table, it's easy to get hold of, it's relatively cheap, it's quick and easy to learn, and game time is 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah,
so it doesn't overstay its welcome on the table. Again, I would say probably similar to Canopy. I'm more than happy to not take the cards out that they recommend in the setup and play a bigger, longer game.
Yeah, I'd rather have that as well. I know in one of not this game that we filmed, but I know a couple of games previously we forgot to take the cards out, and it does. I think it just adds to it because you've got more potential to create more streets and.
Yeah, I mean similar to Canopy, isn't it? It's just they say too much of a good thing is bad, but when it comes to Canopy and Streets, I disagree completely. I just
go all in.
I wanted, obviously, we put the promo pack in here, which meant we had to take 10 cards out plus the additional 10 cards out that you do for the standard setup.
Yeah.
And to be quite honest, I just want to put those 20 cards back in and more than happy play a longer game. We just may run out of money, I guess, would be the only negative on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, accessibility is a very big win for me.
Yeah, I'd agree on that.
On to gameplay. And I suppose this is probably the one category where there will be a bit of a negative, which people who watch the gameplay might be aware of.
Yeah.
But I would say the consultant expansion, I would argue, isn't very balanced. We have played 3 games with the consultants.
Yeah.
And some of them seem to be very overpowered. Our first game, I was the entrepreneur, which meant I could, whenever a street was scored, I could score a building in my hand as well. And I just made sure I kept one of the cards that's $2 for every building in the street. So I was getting an extra $10 every time a street was enclosed.
Yeah.
Generally, because there are 4 to 5 spaces in the street.
And I had the
realtor.
The realtor, which enabled me to basically claim one of Chris's potentially high scoring tiles for my own. So essentially, we're getting the same scores, matching his score for that one.
Yeah.
And that was per street. I could just reuse it.
Yeah, as long as you close the street off and
yeah,
then before you double claim something else. But yeah, that was pretty much impossible for me to keep up with you then, because you were negating any points that I was getting. And then in the videoed one, I was the investor, where whenever I place a street, I could put 2 ownership tokens on it, which doubled the value. And I mean, I won by 98 points in the end.
I mean, the Hipster Legend was decent card, but if you haven't got the right circumstances to get the points from it, then it's not that great.
Some of them are more situational, aren't they? Like
yeah.
I had the franchiser, which was good. It was good points. You got $2 for every symbol that matched in the business one. But again, because you had the realtor, I was gaining $4 to $6 each street, and then you were gaining $10 to $12 that you were claiming off mine.
Yeah.
So I would say I can't, in all good spirits, probably recommend the contractor expansion. It's still a good game with it. It's still fun, but I would knock a point off my score for it.
I'd say if you've got 2 very sort of similar players with similar sort of ability, it literally is going to come down to who gets the better one of these, really.
Yeah, I suppose if you take the effort of going through it and picking balanced ones, then that may complement the gameplay and be more fun. But then if you're having to go through the hassle of picking out balanced ones, you may as well just play the game without them, where it's already really balanced, I think.
Yeah.
I think the business expansion is great, where you're getting these little tokens and
add to it.
It's a whole level of strategy in terms of, do you want to go big on certain tokens to try and make sure you get the $10 for that category, or do you spread it out? Because, you know, if I have 4 houses and you have 5, you'll get $10 and I'll get nothing. Whereas if I've got one of each, I'm guaranteed to get $10.
Yeah, balancing it.
So it's a lot of strategy and decision making in terms of what approach you go for that, which I really like. So the game with the business expansion, I think, is wonderful. I just don't really get on with the consultant expansion. But in terms of the base game, obviously we touched on some bits already. But what are your thoughts on that, Chris?
I really like the game. I love the game. I love the strategy behind it.
Yeah.
I love the way you can you've got to sort of build your own street up, as well as keeping your eye on your opponents, because what tended to happen was I went one way, Chris went the other way.
Certainly at the beginning.
And it's worthwhile just looking at your opponent's street as well and see if you can capitalise on anything he or she might have put down, to sort of get you some points on the side, so to speak.
Yeah. Or if it looks like they're building a big combo street, you can close it off early and try and sabotage.
Yeah, limit their scoring. But yeah, I really love the game. I love the mechanics behind it. I love there's a lot going on. The only gripe I've got is the city park.
I do feel sorry for the city park.
To be honest with you, I'm not even sure if we've ever ran a street off that.
I think we did in our first game. So basically, at the beginning, your starting setup is you have the central station and the city park. And the central station starts with 4 meeples on it that have FOMO, so they instantly go to a tile of the same colour as soon as it's placed, whereas the city park is just an extra road on the side. And so we end up by almost always building 2 streets out of the central station, and it just tends to develop in a way that we move away from the city park.
Yeah.
More often than not. We have had 1 or 2 games where we've gone the other way. But yeah, it usually does just sit there very serene and tranquil. And
I don't know if it would benefit from maybe being similar to the central station where you've got the 4 elements on the bottom there, which should encourage people to maybe build out this way as well as that way. I don't know. There's obviously a reason why it hasn't. But
I suppose
it just seems a bit of a dead area.
It makes it easier to create a whole street, I guess, but it's a street where you've got a dead tile in the middle of it. It probably could benefit. I don't think it would work with the 4, or maybe with the symbols, but not with the meeples. It wouldn't work with FOMO meeples because they just go off the same way as the station.
Yeah.
But if it had its own scoring thing, so like whoever encloses the street gets 5 points from the city park, for example, it just may encourage it to be a bit more relevant to the gameplay. And my only real niggle with it is, if you watch the gameplay, you'll see when you're scoring a street, you've usually got 3, 4, 5 different tiles where you've got to work your way through one at a time, going, this is the points for the tile, this is how many meeples are on it, this is where the meeples are going to go. So the scoring bit can take a bit of time.
Yeah.
Which is, it's not a big problem. It doesn't really hurt the game too much for me. It's maybe a fraction of a point off. But I love the way you have to be strategic in terms of manipulating the meeples. When do you want to enclose a street? Because there's a bunch of FOMO meeples.
Yeah.
And if you're the one enclosing the street, you get to choose where they go, or you may place tiles of a certain colour that you don't necessarily want to place because the scoring thing isn't great, but there are 6 or 7 meeples of that colour with FOMO that you know you're going to grab straight away. So you're constantly having that balance and decision making and strategic thinking, similar to Villagers, similar to Canopy in that respect. And
I think for me the best part of the gameplay is the FOMO meeples. Just for the fact that if you've got the right tile in your hand, you can claim a wad of
it's so satisfying when you get an army of hipsters charging to your coffee shop or something. I suppose the only niggle I've got for that as well is when you've got 10 meeples with FOMO and you've got to stand them all up. That can be a little bit fiddly, but it's a wonderful game. I really, really love it. I've thoroughly enjoyed every game we've played, even with the consultant expansion. I mean,
me too. I really love the game. I love tile placement games anyway, but the dynamics of this game, and obviously, as we touched upon at the start, not a lot of expectancy. Probably more expectancy was given purely because we played Villagers. If we hadn't played Villagers going into this, we might have viewed it differently. So there was a level of expectation because we scored Villagers with the perfect score.
Villagers we went into with no expectations and it blew us out of the water. And this one we went in hoping it would live up to it. And I think for me, it maybe has fallen a tiny bit short, just because I've got a couple of niggles where I didn't have any with Villagers. But in terms of a score, I would give it, without the consultant expansion, I would give it a 9.5. And I'd probably give it an 8 to an 8.5 with the consultant expansion. So I absolutely adore the game. I just probably won't use the consultant again.
I was going to give it a 10, but I think raised a couple of good points whilst we've been reviewing with the City Park and a couple of other bits. So I am going to knock down to a 9.5 as well.
Which is still an exceptional
score. Oh yes, phenomenal.
It's an exceptional score, an exceptional, fun, wonderful game.
I mean, we haven't got many games that where both of us have scored a 9.5.
This is on par with Jaws of the Lion. Which you can't. That says it all, really. It's outstanding.
A £30 game. That's the only reason I knock it down. Love the gameplay, love the mechanics, love the puzzle element of it. It's going to get a 9.5 for me. With the consultancy, I'd probably knock it down another point. So again, an 8.5 maybe, because these do really affect the game, really impact the game.
they can still be very fun to play with.
Yeah,
certainly. And the Contractor is one of the only ones we haven't tried, and the fact that alters the setup and everything, and then you've got to place 2 buildings at a time, and do you have to abandon stuff? You may have to abandon 2 just to place. So, but again, how powerful that's going to be, who knows? It's just they're very fun, but they're just not very balanced. Again, your hacker was the one you had, wasn't it? So you include the symbols on the back of your hand cards when scoring, which add 3 potential symbols, which is usually only gonna add $2 to $4 per street.
Yeah.
Which compared to an investor giving you an extra $10 to $12, $14 per street, it's just never going to keep up. But I appreciate the gameplay bit. Probably sounded a bit negative, but overall, I'm sure you can tell that we absolutely love this game.
Yeah.
It is a big win for us, and we highly recommend both Streets and Villagers from Sinister Fish Games. And yeah, I can't wait now for the Villagers expansion to arrive. So that we've got another excuse to get Villagers back to the table, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Villagers expansion as well.
Well, that's it for our Streets review. So thank you for watching. Look after yourself, stay safe, and have a good one. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.